Sales development agencies, tools of the trade. Tools are the real differentiator in 2025. If you've compared more than a couple sales development agencies lately, you've heard the same promises: great SDRs, industry expertise, and more pipeline. The problem is that Outbound is mathematically harder now. Average cold email reply rates sit around 5.1%, and it can take 18 plus dials just to connect with one prospect. So the tech stack behind an SDR agency often matters as much as the people running it. When you hire an outsourced sales team, you're not just buying labor, you're buying a system for turning raw data into booked meetings. That system includes data sourcing, enrichment, sequencing, dialing, AI personalization, reporting, and the integrations that keep everything synced to your CRM. If those pieces don't fit together, the result is usually volume without precision. In this guide, we'll break down the tool categories that separate a modern outbound sales agency from a spray and pray shop, and how to evaluate cold calling services and a cold email agency based on workflow, integration, and outcomes. We'll also call out the most common stack mistakes we see buyers make and the specific questions that expose them fast. Why stack design matters more than more tools. Most B2B sales orgs already run on a crowded toolkit. The average team uses 8.3 tools and spends about $187 per rep each month. The catch is that tool count doesn't equal capability. It often equals tab switching, duplicate data, and reporting gaps that make it harder to run consistent outbound. The overlap problem is real. 73% of sales teams report redundant capabilities, wasting around $2,340 per rep per year. If your sales outsourcing partner is operating a bloated Frankenstack, you're usually paying for complexity twice: once in software and again in the manual work required to keep it running. The best SDR agencies treat tools as an integrated system, not a shopping list. In practice, that means they can clearly explain how data flows from source to enrichment to sequences to meetings, and how every activity becomes usable CRM intelligence for your AE team. If they can't map that path end to end, the stack is probably performing more like a cost center than a revenue engine. Start with data quality, the foundation of outbound. With reply and connect rates under pressure, data quality becomes the first line of defense for any sales development agency. Great copy can't save bad targeting, and a fast dialer can't fix wrong phone numbers. The fastest way to burn budget with a B2B sales agency is to launch outreach before you've validated fit, verified contacts, and standardized fields. When you evaluate a cold calling agency or B2B cold calling services partner, push hard on specifics: where contacts come from, how emails and direct dials are verified, what enrichment happens before the first touch, and how deduplication is handled across sources. A serious outbound sales agency will have clear answers because they've already learned the hard lesson: bad data multiplies failure across every channel. To make stack evaluation practical, we recommend scoring each data-to-meeting stage against the same standard: accuracy, automation, and auditability. The table below is a simple blueprint you can use with any SDR agency, pay-per-meeting lead generation vendor, or internal RevOps team. Outreach execution, sequencing, dialers, and multi-channel discipline. A modern sales agency can't rely on email alone, and that's doubly true for an outsourced B2B sales program where you're paying for consistent throughput. In cold outreach, only 2 to 5% of cold calls typically result in booked meetings, and it can take 18 plus dials to reach a single prospect. So the difference between average and excellent often comes down to sequencing logic and call workflow design. Strong cold calling companies don't just dial more, they connect dialing to data and intent, use tight dispositions so the sequence adapts, and ensure follow-up is immediate when a prospect shows a signal. A good cold calling team also treats LinkedIn outreach services and email as reinforcement, not separate campaigns, so each channel increases the odds that the next touch lands at the right moment. The most telling signal isn't which sequencer or dialer they name. It's whether they can walk you through a real day in the life of their cold callers, how a list is built, how personalization is applied, how replies are handled, and how meetings get booked and confirmed. If you can't get a live workflow demo, you're likely buying a promise rather than an operating system. If an agency can't show you how data moves from source to sequence to booked meeting inside your CRM, you're not hiring a system, you're renting activity. AI as the multiplier layer. Precision beats volume. AI is now a baseline expectation in sales outsourcing, but not all AI is useful. The goal isn't to send more generic messages faster, it's to increase relevance through better ICP matching, intent prioritization, and scalable personalization. Done right, AI saves the average rep about 2 hours per day, and 83% of teams using AI in sales report revenue growth, meaning your agency's AI strategy directly impacts pipeline outcomes. This is also where tool choice shows up on the P&L. AI-native tools are reported to deliver 2.8 times higher ROI, with performance benchmarks around 241% versus 87% for non-AI tools. As you evaluate a B2B sales outsourcing partner, ask exactly which steps are AI-assisted: research, first-line generation, scoring, call summaries, and where humans remain in control: target definition, messaging strategy, qualification. Conversation intelligence belongs in this layer too, especially for a B2B cold calling motion. Call recording and AI analysis aren't nice-to-haves. They're coaching infrastructure that helps an SDR team improve weekly, not quarterly. If an agency can't show how they use call insights to update talk tracks, handle objections, and refine sequences, they're leaving learning and meetings on the table. CRM integration and data ownership. Don't rent your revenue infrastructure. One of the biggest mistakes we see is letting the agency own all the data and infrastructure. If lists, sequences, call recordings, and performance insights live only in their systems, you're back to zero when you switch partners, or when you want to bring an outsourced sales team in-house. Your CRM should remain the source of truth, with contacts, activities, and meetings syncing into standardized fields your team already uses. This matters because outsourced SDR programs have a trust gap. Only about 7% of companies say outsourced SDRs have really worked for them. A huge reason is visibility. Leaders can't tell what's working, can't diagnose why, and can't port the learning into the rest of the revenue org. The fix is simple but non-negotiable. Define data ownership in the contract and validate the CRM mapping before the first sequence launches. When you're vetting an SDR agency, you can usually evaluate them in one call by pressing on 5 areas: data sources, enrichment and verification, sequencing logic, AI usage, and CRM integration details. If they answer with buzzwords or refuse to be specific about fields, sync frequency, or access to assets, treat it as a red flag, not a minor implementation detail. Performance management. Measure meetings and pipeline, not activity. A lot of outbound relationships fail because success is defined as we sent emails and made calls, not we created qualified pipeline. For a sales rep agency or pay-per-appointment lead generation program, activity metrics are only useful if they connect to outcomes: meetings per 100 contacts, qualified meeting rate by persona, pipeline sourced versus influenced, and conversion by channel and sequence variant. We recommend setting stack-enabled KPIs that force clarity: reply rate by sequence and segment, connect rate by dialer configuration, and meeting rate for AI personalized versus generic messaging. This also makes optimization easier because you can isolate where performance breaks down: bad data, weak messaging, poor call workflow, or a sequencing cadence that's too aggressive for deliverability. If you're working with cold call services and list building services at the same time, insist on one reporting view that reconciles both. The best B2B sales company partners don't hide behind a weekly recap email. They provide real-time dashboards and monthly QBRs where every change to targeting, messaging, and tooling is tied back to meetings booked and pipeline created. Operational best practices: how strong agencies run the work. The fastest way to de-risk a new outbound program is to require a live demo of day-to-day workflows. You're not judging UI, you're looking for operational discipline. How an SDR builds a list, applies personalization, launches a multi-channel sequence, handles replies, logs calls, and books meetings with clean handoffs to AEs. If any step relies on, "we'll do that manually later," expect delays and data drift. A practical next step is a focused pilot. Choose 50 to 100 high-value accounts and test AI-powered personalization and multi-channel sequencing against your legacy approach. Because connect and reply rates are tight, small gains compound quickly, especially when the program includes B2B cold calling services, a cold email agency motion, and LinkedIn touches working together instead of competing for attention. At SalesHive, our view is simple. Tools should reduce friction for SDRs and increase visibility for leaders. When a platform combines prospecting, sequencing, dialing, personalization, and reporting, it's easier to run consistent processes, coach from real call data, and prove impact in the CRM. That's the operational bar you should hold any sales development agency to in 2025. What to do next? A stack scorecard for choosing the right partner. Treat the tech stack as a revenue decision, not a procurement checklist. Audit every tool involved in your outbound motion, including the agencies, and map the data path from source to booked meeting to pipeline attribution. Wherever you see overlap, manual handoffs, or missing fields, you've found the places where programs quietly leak time and results. From there, create a must-have blueprint that any cold calling agency, outbound sales agency, or sales outsourcing partner must meet. Reliable data and enrichment, multi-channel sequencing, an integrated dialer, conversation intelligence, CRM sync, and outcome-based reporting. The goal isn't the longest logo slide. It's a lean system that's easy to run, easy to coach, and easy to measure. Finally, align with RevOps before you sign. Confirm data ownership, CRM field mapping, sync frequency, and who maintains integrations long-term. When those fundamentals are locked, your SDR agency selection becomes much simpler because the right partner can show a clear, tool-powered path from targeting to meetings and from meetings to pipeline.